Yeah! We've got to go England-New Zealand, haven't we?
First game of the weekend.
England-New Zealand on Saturday, and a lot of people predicted this to be the semi-final, or they probably predicted both semi-finals, but predicted the way the lay of the lands, both teams topping their pool, would eventually find themselves in a semi-final. The two best teams in the world currently, England versus the All Blacks on Saturday. It's going to be absolutely epic. I mean, arguably the winner out of this, you're thinking, will go on to win the World Cup.
Pretty much, yeah.
The build-up, as always, with Eddie Jones has been very interesting. The press conferences. First claimed there was a spy up in the apartment building in Japan spying on the England team. I'm not too sure about that.
Nah, I don't think anyone believes it was an actual spy, but people still love the story.
Hey, takes the shine off the team, which is actually, I'm beginning to like Eddie Jones, actually. I'm actually beginning to like what he's doing. He's a smart man.
What did you not like before?
I just didn't like some of the idiotic things he said. He said a couple during the World Cup. He said that basically something to do with terrorism around the typhoon. So he still said some stupid stuff, but I'm actually realising some of the stuff that he's doing. You see in the England press conference, he said, put your hands up, anyone who thinks we can beat New Zealand.
Not even Owen Farrell or John Mitchell.
Not even Owen Farrell or John Mitchell put their hand up. Not even Eddie Jones. He didn't even put his hand up. I thought that was quite funny. So he's taken the press conference by storm. But I think he's confident. Until, well, I was confident that England definitely had a chance. Until he's thrown another spanner in the works, hasn't he? He's picked George Ford at 10. Who saw that coming? And we didn't get to see the England-France game to what he would have done going into the Australia game. Obviously, he picked Farrell at 10 against Australia last week, Tuolangi at 12, Henry Slade at 13. Most people would agree that that is England's strongest team, me included. All right? The reason why I think that that's the best combination is defensively. And George Ford is a fantastic player. He's had a brilliant World Cup. He's got man of the match on a couple of occasions. He's captained the team. And he's taken a lot of shit. People questioning he shouldn't be there, Cipriani should. That's gone now. For me, George Ford warrants his place in that squad. And there was a lot of talk last week in the Australia game where Eddie Jones in the press conference again was laughing and saying George Ford has a different role off the bench. He's not been dropped or is not looked at like that. He's just performing a different role. And I thought that was it. I thought it was going to be Farrell, Tuolangi, Slade. Slade was brilliant in the game against Australia, put 40-odd points. Then he goes and picks Ford this week and drops Slade to the bench. It's, I don't know. I'm trying to work out why he's doing that. Does he think that New Zealand with Anton Leonard-Brown and Jack Goodhue offer a different picture to Pataya and Karevi? Less physicality, potentially. New Zealand play a wider game. You know, that's the only reason that I can see why they pick Ford at 10. Do they think the threats are out wide? Move Tuolangi one out in terms of making yards through a Goodhue? Apart from that, I literally cannot understand why he would move Farrell back to 12. Henry Slade carrying an injury. I don't know. High pressure. And they've spoken about it. Eddie Jones has spoken about the pressure that the All Blacks are under in terms of the pressures following them down the street. But I actually quite like Steve Hanson's reply. He said, no, the pressure's following you, Eddie Jones, because 4 years ago, England didn't make it out of their pool. They like each other, apparently, Steve Hanson and Eddie Jones. Heard an interview.
Sitting having a beer together.
Of course, they've mentioned that after the game. They've been WhatsApping. Do they WhatsApp or text? Do they call? I don't know. Email, probably. Who knows? So I can't understand it. I really can't. But Eddie Jones is his own man. Every decision up until now, I know they had a dip, but England have been very good under Eddie Jones. They've been brilliant. They looked unbeatable last week against Australia, although Australia didn't put up a fight. And when you've got Manu Tuolangi in your team, now he did an interview this week and he was talking about facing the All Blacks and how when he lived back in Samoa when he was a young kid that he watched the World Cups, he watched the All Blacks, watched the Super 12, and he obviously naturally mentioned Jonah Lomu was an inspiration to him growing up, that no one will come close to Jonah Lomu. Well, if there's anyone going to come close, it's Manu Tuolangi. with him in your team, England can do anything. And Manu's spoken about how he idolised Jonah as a young lad growing up. Manu, I don't want to say he's on the same level. The game's very different now. Jonah Lomu changed the face of the game. But he obviously speaks about his respect for the All Blacks. And this is going to be an absolute classic. It's going to be brilliant. And then you look at the All Blacks, right? So you're thinking, the All Blacks against Ireland, that's the best performance I've seen in the World Cup. It's the best of the World Cup this year. It's the best performance I've seen from the All Blacks in a long time. A complete performance. It's the best I've seen Kieran Reid play. The balance of the back row. Ireland didn't stand a chance. Even if Ireland were at their very best, I don't think they would have beaten the All Blacks on Saturday. So you're thinking they're going to go the same again? No, they've moved. They've not dropped. We can't say dropped to the bench. It's a 23-man squad who's going to win the game. They've moved Sam Cane to the bench and they've put Scott Barrett in at 6. So it's not as crazy, I don't think, as putting Ford in at 10. But we were doing a bit of digging, weren't we?
Surely with that dynamic, you'd worry. So when I first heard that, I thought Underhill and Curry are just going to absolutely ravage them. So I remember it must have been 2 years ago, South Africa put one of their second rows at flanker, and England just ruined them round the fringes.
Yeah.
So I was clueless as to why they'd put Scott Barrett at flanker.
Yeah.
But you seem to know why.
Well, I seem to think I know why. So last time England played New Zealand last year, the All Blacks won by 1 point. And they dominated England in the line-out in that game, which is a little bit unheard of from New Zealand. So New Zealand's line-out is notoriously a thing that they use but don't see it as a real importance. Last time they played England, they dominated the line-out. Scott Barrett, on the other hand, has never started at 6, but he's come on about 8 times, did a bit of digging. So he has played 6 before, and I think they want to take England on up front, or they want to match them up front. England are so powerful up there. You've got Courtney Laws, you've got Mara Itoje, you've got Vunipola. We know they've got Curry and Underhill in terms of over the ball. Sinclair's running a mock at the minute. He's outstanding. So I think by putting someone like Scott Barrett in there, he's a good mauler. I've seen him. He's good in the line out. It might give New Zealand a bit of parity, if that's what you want to say. And it will be parity up front because England's forwards are world class. And the fact that they've maybe seen the line out with George Cruz on the bench could be a way that they could get into the game. But, it's interesting because Steve Hansen doesn't normally, or, the All Blacks notoriously don't normally think or counteract on what the opposition do. They normally just pick a team that they think is going to win, that's going to dominate. Sam Cane's going to come on and he's going to be exceptional. He's good over ball. You spoke about Underhill and Curry there. They have been astonishingly good. They've been so good. Spoken about it before. Their tackle technique. I don't know who got man of the match last week. I think it was Tom Curry, but you could have given it to Underhill as well. Their tackle technique, for any boys and girls wanting to play the game of rugby, that is how you tackle. Naturally they tackle that way, but they obviously work very hard in that area. The physicality, New Zealand going to be up against it. Prediction. What do you think?
26-21 to England.
26-21 to England?
Yeah.
Wowzers.
I've been a bit of a geek. I've made a team sheet of the England team that I thought it was going to be, and not to brag, I was bang on. I thought Wilson would come in for Ludlam. I thought Laws would start ahead of Cruz. And I've listed the people I think that could get a drop goal, and Carl Sinclair is one of them.
Could get a drop goal? Right, we can't take him seriously. Carl Sinclair ain't going to get a drop goal.
I think he might attempt it.
No way. What do you know?
I just know that, he used to play 10 back in the day.
If Carl Sinclair does a drop goal in the biggest game of his life, I'll eat this hat. I'll eat it raw. No chance. But you're right.
That's why I think they've put Ford in there. I reckon they're going to pull out this wild card that no one's really used yet, which is go for drop goals.
There you have it. You blow my mind. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I'm looking at the games that they've played. England have only won 1 out of the last 16 against the All Blacks. I can't believe that stat. I can't even believe it's true. It's what Wikipedia says. If any team can beat New Zealand, it's England. I can't see it. I really can't. Eddie Jones made a massive call with Ford at 10. you're right about the drop goals. They might go down that route. That's a really, really interesting call. But New Zealand by 6. I'd love to see England. I'd love to see England-Wales final. Love to see it. So I'm going to go New Zealand. I'm going to go the All Blacks by 6. And I'm hoping that this game is all done and dusted and the outcome is all to do with the rugby and we don't see a red card and we don't see something ridiculous like that.